Welcome to the stream. We're back again with another webinar, so it's awesome to be back. But this time we're not just on our own. We've got the amazing team at WeDoCRM with us who are going to be talking all things loyalty today. So without further ado, I will hand you over to Patrick, who's going to be hosting the session, as always, and we can get going. So thank you very much for tuning in.
Hi, everybody. I'm just reloading the LinkedIn page because I want to see it live there as well. There you go. It is. So apologies for those that have been listening so far and saw me refresh that. But yeah, we are lucky today to have guests from WeDoCRM. So when Daniel and I were putting together this idea for a webinar, we were looking around customer loyalty. Black Friday is little over 6 weeks away. Black Friday is 6 weeks tomorrow. It is the most dangerous time of the year for brands that rely on customer loyalty and LTV. So we wanted to get
also a big time for potential of building loyalty and LTV, as we covered in our last session. So effectively, we know even if promotions aren't running, there's a lot of customers who are effectively looking at websites and coming back and making second purchases. I think the stat we saw is 40% of brands are actually coming back to make follow-on purchases during those crucial weeks over Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So you can't really ignore it. And that's probably why it's a good time to talk about loyalty, because there's a lot of potential new customers that's going to be coming in over these periods, right, Patrick?
Correct. Maintaining those customers afterwards is important as well. So in order to get the best out of this webinar, we reached out to some of the most respected agencies and partners. We were lucky enough that WeDoCRM were kind enough to join us for the call. So I'm going to go down the list on the right-hand side. So I'm going to introduce Matthew Watson, from founder at WeDoCRM. Matthew, if you could share some of your profile of who you are, what you know.
Yeah. So yeah, as you've alluded to, I'm one of the founders of WeDoCRM. And previously, before that, I was the head of CRM for Emirates. So CRM has kind of been a focal point of my life for quite some time. And as anyone with any logic does at the start of a pandemic, I quit a very high-paid, high-powered job and started an agency. And lucky enough, CRM had a bit of a renaissance during the pandemic. So we've seen the agency go from strength to strength, and we're now 5.5 years in, and we've got some of the biggest players on the world stage. So we've been very fortunate, but it's also a testament to the incredible team that I've got, with the likes of Kirsty and Vanessa also on the call. So we just give everyone, I can't actually see anyone, so this is all very strange because all I can see is us guys internally. But for anyone lurking in the
don't worry, Matthew. There's no one else. There's no one else there. It's only us five.
So the agency focuses on 3 core pillars. I kind of pitch this every time we talk to a client, but I think it's important because our power and our expertise is our singularity when it comes to CRM. So we focus on the technology side of things, everything related to managing tech stacks. We focus on the data analysis and BA side, everything related to what data is coming in, what picture does it paint, and what do we do strategically from it. And then probably the biggest thing, which is the day-to-day. CRM is colossal. It's next to impossible, even with millions of pounds of budget, to find the right level of resource. So that's what we do as an agency. And, so far, so good.
Excellent. So yeah, let's go down Vanessa, I didn't put you on the slide, unfortunately. But yeah, so to Kirsty first, you are on the slide. If you could give yourself, the viewers, some insight into what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Kirsty Dorby. I'm head of clients for WeDoCRM. I have 10 years of experience in the CRM realm, and majority of my experience is in retail. I've worked for the agency for just over 3 years. And yeah, put many different industry hats on, and I'm very excited today to talk to you guys.
Yeah, thanks. And finally, last but by no means least, Vanessa.
Hi everyone, my name's Vanessa Malia. I am the head of growth at WeDoCRM, and I'm here to support the team to talk about all things customer loyalty today.
Excellent.
I'm going to give you a bit of a recap as well, Patrick, just in case we've got any first-time viewers. So on our side, you've got myself. So I am Dan Dunn. I'm CEO and co-founder of Paper Planes. Very similar to Matthew, I decided in the pandemic it would be a really good time to double down and go into become an entrepreneur. It seemed only the sensible thing to do, considering I also just had my first child that had arrived as well. So I always love
definitely beaten me.
Always love a bit of danger. I thought, you know what, those mortgage repayments can wait. So, but ever since that point, I guess we've been on this journey of taking, the best practices of data-driven principles and applying them to specifically direct mail to help e-commerce brands really make a difference for their customers. And what you cannot escape in this channel is what we actually saw back in the day before we actually started this. So we worked at Tesco, me as co-founder worked at dunnhumby, working with Tesco Club Card data. And what we saw there is what we see now, in that the most valuable data asset that a brand can have is their existing customer base. The stat that we used to really show that and amplify that back in the Tesco days was, for Tesco, one loyal customer is worth 12 uncommitted. And that just goes to show why there was so much emphasis and energy into making sure customers stayed loyal. And Patrick, you yourself have worked e-commerce, D2C. You've worked on driving loyalty and engagement from customers in the D2C world before you started with us, right? So you're well-versed and experienced in this area as well.
Yeah, very much so. But I have to say, over my time working with Paper Planes has been an education in customer loyalty, where and how to interrupt the flow to get someone back or to keep the flow going, and also just capturing them in the first place. Like, there's a lot of data points that are available to brands that they aren't using all the time. And I think that was something where you said, Matthew, about that resource requirement, is there is so much data available. Organizing it into a CRM strategy can be the biggest part of the battle.
Yeah.
So just before we get started, I know we've gone on a little bit there, but just before we get started, just to let everybody know watching, I have the other window open. It's got in it, it will tell me if someone reacts or asks a question. So if you do have any questions throughout, don't hesitate. And yeah, we'll monitor that as the slideshow moves forward. Picking the pace up of slides now, guys. I think we were budgeting 2 minutes a slide, and we've got 8 minutes so far, and we're on the third slide. So if I can get through the next two in 2 minutes, we've done a good job. So
Patrick, we believe in you.
Thank you. It's not me that I need to believe in, really. It's I need to believe in you for. But yeah, this is a rough idea of what we're going to go over. We're going to look at the state of customer loyalty, like building it, specifically around direct mail, CRM-driven customer journeys. That's a big part of what we're looking at. And then slightly obscured by our pictures, but the single most important part of marketing, and that is measuring and optimizing. And doing that around loyalty is not easy. So we've got quite a few slides in here that will go through focusing what you can do to make that work. But yeah, Black Friday, 6 weeks away, tomorrow. And it's just worth noting that last year's Black Friday, 2024, was 37% up on 2023's Black Friday, according to Price Waterhouse Coopers, PwC. Now, they were saying there was different factors in that, and that this year probably won't be. But if it happened again, you're looking at the most significant trading period in the year for a lot of brands, the most significant trading period. So getting it right through this period is essential.
Well, I come back to what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago there, and that is, regardless, I mean, Black Friday is gearing up through IMRG, through what we're seeing right now, to be a little bit flat this year. Well, that's certainly what people are assuming it's going to be, compared to, the massive growth that we've seen previously. But even if you were to take a Black Friday, Cyber Monday event out, Q4 for e-commerce is massive. And it, at the very least, is going to increase. And at the very least, is going to. Thanks, Brad, for the love there. At the very least, is going to increase, or it's going to effectively bring in a lot of customers into the brand for the first time. So even if you are not planning to run promotions or discounts, you are going to have more customers in there. And actually, Loyalty Trend Insight report from Smile.io and Yotpo showed that emotional connection and personalization in 2025 are major drivers for what we're seeing as a 20% year-on-year growth in average order value for small to mid-sized businesses through your loyalty driving initiatives. So you can't ignore it, even if you aren't planning to discount.
That's exactly right. Should we try? Does that work better now? What do you think? I think it's better when it's not covered the slides.
Yeah, fine, go for it.
Perfect. Yeah, and this was it. So as Dan was saying, there's different ways. Smilo, Yotpo, using your points, getting people back is essential. It's essential. They can go wrong. Over Black Friday, extreme competition. The most offers, the most CRM. Did they sign up for multiple flows before they purchase your product? All those customers are going to be in detailed and can be well-organized CRM campaigns coming into it. And high acquisition spend, a lot of people spend a lot of money. Your customers are going to face an ad barrage. And with algorithms like the Andromeda from Meta, people are getting matched ever more accurately with brands they're interested in. Meta knows what they're interested in, knows what they've bought, and is serving them products that they will most likely move to. So it's the time of the year when CRM becomes a big focus.
I think you make a good point there, Patrick, about it being so competitive at the minute. And I think brands really do need to pay more attention to segmentation more closely. How can they segment better and personalize their offers? Because it's sometimes just a one-stop shop, 20% off for everyone. And sometimes that doesn't work for someone who's just come in with 10% off. Do you know what I mean? So it's understanding who is new in the base, who is kind of lapsing, who is dormant, and tailoring Black Friday to them as well. And I think that's something brands now are looking at doing more.
The smart ones are for sure. There's still a lot of brands out there sending emails with our product in them, with a flat offer across doing a whole database send. Like, why don't we just send to our database 3 times, each Friday through November? Even that isn't done, It's just done on Friday night, 11 o'clock on Black Friday.
So the state of... Oh, over to me.
Yeah, I believe it is.
I was too keen there.
Couldn't wait to jump in with that point there, but it's...
Ready to go. So the state of customer loyalty today, I guess I don't need to read word for word, but you can see that stat there of 92%. And you can see below how it's split into why customers are staying loyal to brands these days. 41% because of their rewards program, and then 33% because of quality of products and services. This tells me something I feel I've already known, and that's not me blowing my own trumpet. Oh, thanks, Nadia. But this isn't me blowing my own trumpet, but I've kind of always known that loyalty is no longer driven by discounts or offers. Customers now are seeking experience. They want more service now to rewarding loyalty. And that tells me that for a loyalty program or loyalty to survive, it's discounts and offers, but to thrive, it's service. And that's the key difference here. A great example, I used to work for a beauty retailer, and we identified 10% of our base, who were top spenders. So they were spending a lot of money per month across a range of products. And we developed a VIP service to them, and we gave them a dedicated concierge, free makeup consultations, in-store makeup sessions, exclusive invites to events and things. And it was truly like a gorgeous service because the customer felt VIP, they felt special. And it allowed us to understand a little bit more about the customer too, and why they were spending so much with us, and what would help them essentially spend more in a very subtle way. But financially, these experiences weren't giveaways. We piggybacked a lot of events and a lot of other things the business was doing, but we were able to generate incremental revenue off the back of them. And it meant that we were deepening engagement, encouraging higher spend, while protecting our margins as well. So there's a nice way for brands to now look at loyalty a little bit differently.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. I think, it was loyalty for the longest time was kind of like tied in with, oh, let's give something for free, or let's give something away.
Exactly.
But actually, the explosion of data and how you can, and I think it's not just the data, it's the accessibility of data. So going back to the days of churning out a mailing every 3 months, you can't do it takes teams and teams of people. And believe me, as we'll all own this call anyway, spreadsheets upon spreadsheets upon spreadsheets to get something into a format of marketing which is going to be personalized, which is going to be right, so you don't embarrass yourself, so it lands and then kind of does something you want it to do. And that is heavily geared, back in the day, the high street retailers, heavily geared around discounts.
Yeah.
But now you've got so much data from your e-commerce platform which you can utilize and capture, that you can actually be more refined and more advanced in terms of what you do. And therefore, it's changed the game from a loyalty perspective, because loyalty is, by definition, a customer spending a bit more. So they don't all need the discount in the first place anyway. So whatever you can do to get those quality products or services, or a gamification program in points that effectively drives them back, is really powerful.
And I think the service piece, I think you're so right. And when you can segment that way, you can build trust with your customers on an emotional level. There's a deeper connection there, which then drives even more loyalty from that as well. So that tailored experience and the service aspect is crucial for your loyalty program, loyalty just in general.
You know what I like most about that is it's that age-old adage. It's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
If you actually put, if you put some thought into what that person wants, if you've thought about why they chose your brand, and you talk to them, you talk to that point, you can really create a connection and give them something that they really want, and that's ultimately how a brand or business keeps going, providing customers with exactly what they're interested in.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm going to skip on to
this one.
This is so important. I mean, it's so relevant. I mean, sorry, but it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Personalized engagement builds trust. It strengthens your relationship. Again, I spoke about that as well, like that emotional connection. It does really drive the trust, and thus the relationship between brand and consumer. Whether that's a tailored email or a customized piece, direct mail. We did a lovely piece. The beauty retailer that I used to work for, and it was a gorgeous kind of tailored letter, and it was beautifully signed and delivered to the customer really, really nicely. And the engagement off that was huge. But it is key. It's key to using your data and insight to show how you know your customers, you truly know them, and like what you want, what you understand about them. And I think that brands that get this right do create more everlasting relationships with them, and ultimately drive action. We want them to make that however many purchases they are within their lifetime with that company, that brand. But as I said, you continue doing that and you drive that action, it ultimately just gives you lifetime value with that customer.
I think just to add to that as well, Kirsty, I mean, we will have examples of brands, for example, in the pet category, are very near and dear to both of our hearts.
Yes.
And what I've loved about that that type of category in particular is we've got so super advanced now in terms of what you can do to tailor creative and experiences. So there's two different points to it. On the one side, when you're talking about really giving someone a warm feeling, surprise and delight, and letting them know that the brand knows you, how great is it that you can just pull a pet name into a creative or some form of marketing, and essentially use that as something that can add value. But then protecting the relationship with the customer, if they are falling out of subscription, how amazing is it that now with data, you can tailor the type of content that goes to a customer based on the reason they're falling out. And you can actually strip people out who are going to be really sensitive to, let's say, a pet passing away or dying. It's that aspect of being able to tailor both sides, protect the customer experience and the engagement, because they could come back to you if they had a positive or a neutral experience with you, but they're not going to come back if they have a negative experience. And that data segmentation is so powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And I think that leads us nicely onto a use case for this, especially around this time of year, and how it can be applied in different creative formats. And that's around the future of loyalty and its retention and advocacy, not just repeat purchase. Like the goal in getting customers is that they surprise and delight. They have a great experience with your product and that they can then go and talk about your product afterward. You want to inspire that advocacy in your customers. So in this example, WeDoCRM have large scale customers. So I'd be interested. So you can see a simple flow here. Shopify for your e-commerce data, Klaviyo for your segmentation, Yotpo for your loyalty. You can combine those three into a single message. In this case, a A4 letter. So as a personalized envelope, that is actually an envelope here. And then that customer receives something specific to them, specific to what they bought, referencing all their points, and they've got the opportunity to share afterwards. What kind of tech stacks do you see at WeDoCRM, and what kind of challenges do you find pulling that kind of data together? I'm going to go for this. Kirsty, you've talked a lot. Matthew, if you don't mind, I'm going to put you on the spot with that one. What do you see in terms of tech stacks, and where do you find people fall down because of tech stacks?
So in the last probably 5 years, there's been a shift in the world of CRM. People no longer buy a singular system that does everything. We've entered a new realm of custom tech stacks. People are embracing the technologies evolve. We're in the technology revolution. The biggest change to the world since the Industrial Revolution because of AI. And no longer can everything be found in one system because it's just not physically possible. People are embracing the singularity now. If I want a system that can analyze data, I'll find a platform that does just that. If I want a system that deals with loyalty, I'll find a system that does just that. If I want to send direct mail, I'll come to someone like Paper Planes, or I'll feed, some sort of technology in. We're finding the days of going out there and buying Salesforce and buying everything is gone. People just are not doing it. So now it's a case of technology is limitless, and it's finding the biggest thing we find at the agency is it's just overwhelming. People don't know what the right thing to choose is. And before you know it, someone's acquired 30 different systems and gone, only 5% of it works. And then what happens? You end up with data isolation. When you end up with data isolation, you can't do anything. You are literally shooting in the dark. So the biggest thing that I try and tell people during our sales cycles is keep it simple. I remember a very, very high-level marketing director once telling me, the key to marketing is keep it simple. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. So with loyalty, you could just have these 3 systems and they would absolutely kick ass, so long as they all do exactly what they're meant to and the data flows accordingly. The moment that data stops flowing is the moment you lose your loyalty program. So that's the key. Is just there is no blueprint anymore. It's almost like the rule book's been thrown out and we're all trying to figure out what the new world of CRM looks like. And it's exciting because it's agile. You know, you can just rip systems out and put something else in, and you know, there is no reason not to succeed at loyalty these days because of technology, especially with AI and its analysis capability.
Do you think that the fact that everything has come so siloed, Matthew, in that what you're choosing to invest in from a channel perspective, that can really work in conflict with that message that marketing manager told you back in the day of keeping it simple? Because, you know, the Adobes or the Salesforces of the world, which effectively are massive contracts, but with the intent of creating a single customer view, you know, it's hard to then do that, I guess, when you are utilizing Paper Planes for direct mail or Klaviyo for email or Attentive for SMS.
It's just how you feed data. It really is just how you feed it, collate it, manage it, store it, and how you, most importantly, how you process it, because things move at such a rapid rate in this modern day. If you'd gone back 40 years ago, my granddad used to love getting stuff through the mail, advertisements, brochures, because you had time to think and digest it. Now it's like you have to instantly make decisions. And I think we're all craving going back to a little bit of just calmness. And
we're all craving going back to direct mail.
Well, direct mail is going through a bit of a renaissance, because the truth is we're so overloaded digitally, we're switching off more and more. And you know, I've noticed that I get a bit more interested if something comes through the mail, because it's just different. It snaps me out of that, you know, looking at an email and not really taking it in. So direct mail is so powerful, so long as it's done correctly, because of course, as you guys know better than anyone, there's a cost associated to it that you don't get in the digital world. And as long as you're, you know, it comes back to the whole thing of marketing, the right message at the right time to the right person. That's the key to, you know.
Yeah, the whole thing. Sort of thing. And that's where, like, direct mail being an output of technological systems, it doesn't sound like you would be able to do it. You think you're going to do a blast and that's it. Whereas if you can pull in these different data points, we've got an inbound API at Paper Planes to, like the situation you've described, we've dealt with, even on this screen. That stack there probably only represents, like, Shopify could be 50%, Klaviyo's only 33%, Yotpo less than that. So then once you start getting into the weeds, you've got 8, maybe 10 or 12 different CRMs that you've got to deal with, all of them doing slightly different things, providing slightly different data formats. In the end, an inbound API means that we can get that data better.
Yeah, and I think just on that Skinnation example, just to tail it all back round, this is what the guys at Skinnation do really well, because they are keeping things simple from an approach to loyalty. They have their loyalty club, which effectively can allow them to build, you know, the spend and lifetime value from customers. They have the flows, which we are optimizing and testing incentive levels on, as well as different types of segments of customers. I think Kirsty mentioned segmentation earlier, and it's so important that when it comes to your marketing, you're not just doing one approach for one type of customer, that you're actually learning as much as you can. And I think that all flows back into a really simplified view of who the customer is, how much value you can attain from them, and then what you can do next. So I'm a big advocate of that simplicity and setting yourself up so your channels can feed back into a model which allows you to track that loyalty.
Yeah, but also most critically, that exactly what you said, you don't treat everyone the same. You know, we all have our different channels. We all pay attention to different things. I don't read emails. I now am in this phase where I'm just seeing app notifications. I'll probably change, because human beings are inherently fickle. Our habits change over time. So the key is just to always not put everyone in the same bucket, because it's just you're reducing your margins, you're isolating portions of your database, and it's okay to send something like this through direct mail to only a handful of people, as long as they convert, as long as you know that you're sending it to the right people.
Pull that data back in. And there it is, so the omni-channel engagement part.
I think, like, obviously we spoke a lot about direct mail there, and how effective it is, though, being part of a omni-channel approach. Omni-channel allows us to combine, I mean, we're saying it there, physical and the digital touch points together to have a stronger impact. I kind of think about it when I think of customers, and my approach to them is like a halo effect. I want everything to kind of work in unison together: email, direct mail, SMS. If we have the ability to do so, absolutely utilize those channels. It helps us reinforce our brand message. And we also have different approaches to those channels. Our emails are short, are snappy. We don't have a lot of space to talk too much about different ranges of products or the brand story, whereas in direct mail we have more flexibility to do a bit more storytelling there, and it's a bit more of a personal touch point too, which we've touched on a little bit in this webinar. It can help, obviously, having all of these different touch points boost engagement, but cater to different audiences as well. Matt made a good point that if he's not looking at email, maybe we'll get some interaction, action from him via direct mail. And direct mail can cater to different audiences. I remember I used to work for a menswear company, and their whole framework was based on direct mail, and we had an older audience, and it kind of catered to that audience. But now it's shifting a little bit, and direct mail is having its kind of, the limelight is kind of on it more. Yeah, exactly. So now it's catering to different audiences as well. So having that omni-channel approach means that you're gonna find that engagement, interaction with customers at some point during that strategy, during that approach. And ultimately, having that strategy and approach, it allows you to deliver higher return of investment, customer satisfaction, and thus retention as well.
I think it's also important that digital channels also are becoming more constricted. Brands are finding it harder and harder to say simple things like free, because mail clients will spam certain buzzwords. And sometimes you just want to tell your customer base, by the way, this is free. You just want to use the word free. And the problem is that the digital landscape is starting to penalize certain words because of overusage. And so that's also where you can tailor strategy to go, well, actually, if I want to communicate something really specific and it's going to get spammed in the digital landscape, let's send it out via direct mail if we have the ability to do it, because you can communicate something you can't do via email, say, for example. So I think it's just understanding the right channels and where they should come into play.
Do you guys, I'm curious from your side, because I've been part of conversations discussing omni-channel, which didn't have any physical touch point a part of that at all. So some agencies, in terms of when they talk about omni-channel, it is omni-channel without direct mail. And I'm always curious with Meta and Google, because with our client base, Meta can sometimes seem as the unnecessary evil, or the necessary evil, even, would make more sense. And Google as well is like you have to spend on it in order to drive, some sort of interaction. But obviously in growth, that's a big thing. Do you see it play a role within omni-channel engagement for the CRM strategy as well, typically? Or is it more of a Meta and Google is more of an afterthought, and there's more focus on email, there's more focus on SMS, there's more focus on things like WhatsApp marketing now for retargeting?
I think it's more, from my experience and my perspective, it's been more email. Definitely WhatsApp's a really good point, adding that into the mix as well, direct mail, SMS. But Matt, you've got more experience in kind of the Google ads, Meta space anyway, so I don't know if you'll have a different opinion to me, but my experience has been more within and it's so different what people do kind of consider as like this CRM touch points, but that's always been the SMS, the direct mail, the email. and WhatsApp now actually coming into the mix, because a lot of clients actually asking me about WhatsApp, so it's a hot topic. That's kind of been more my experience and what I've kind of used as channels. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, hopefully I don't go down a rabbit's warren here, but the problem with paid ads, and especially retargeting, most brands, and I've seen this at the highest level, don't understand what omni-channel truly is. And you'll be surprised the amount of big brands out there that don't ingest their CRM database into Google, because you'll get brands that will spend hundreds of millions of pounds retargeting people through Meta, through Google, when they already exist on the database. They just can't be bothered to talk to them there. So they'll go out and they'll pay a premium to essentially talk to them when they're free there. So the key to omni-channel is just to truly break it down and be really strict about cost saving and not spending, because that's how people get into problems, is that they will just spend and spend and spend on paid channels when actually you don't need to. Paid channels should really only be an acquisition method. They should not be a retention method. Once they're acquired through Google, stop using Google. Stop using retention, because you're eating your ROI. And it's just work. It just takes a bit of time to work your database, and you'll be amazed at the results. Because you just suddenly you're going, oh god, I'm not paying like £1.50 premium for that user again, or to buy something for £3.50.
Also, I think it doesn't differentiate from the experience they get when they're in the base. Do you know what I mean? Like there are certain channels for acquisition and then retention, but you don't blur the lines between the two. I think you keep them quite separate, because there's a different experience. And I'm talking a lot about service and experience, but when they're in the data, when they're in the base, because you treat them so much different and you have to treat them differently. And I think it's so much easier for acquisition because they've always got a higher allowable against the customers that they should acquire into the business. So they can't pay that money. It's harder in retention to do so. So I totally agree.
But acquisition is not what, Amazon became the most expensive company at one point because retention was 98% of its revenue. Its acquisition is just a means to an end. The moment you start the snowball effect, that's when that existing database really earns its lifetime value. And it's but like I said, I'll go down a rabbit warren, so I'll shut up about acquisition and Google.
And also we're gonna have to whip through it a little bit here, because we're 20 minutes left, and this is only our 10th slide. We've got 14 more.
Well, let's roll through. I mean, the key point here is that, again, another key client, V14, when it comes to first-party data strategy, this is the point. Growth is coming, or acquisition will come through Meta. It will come through Google. But your first-party data strategy is then so crucial. So how you choose to follow up with customers when they've purchased from you previously. One of our favorite segments to go after are those who we know are active, but they are not subscribers, and the ability to effectively tailor a omni-channel strategy, which makes the most out of email as a bit of a trigger point, then maybe a bit of SMS, and then, customers aren't returning, direct mail gets triggered. Obviously, there's a cost associated with that, but everything then flows back into, obviously, your individual channel tracking, which is important, but your centralized view of the customer and what they're doing. So, there's incrementality that's driven from all of the different things that you're doing. We're big on incrementality in our piece, as you can imagine. Having something physical follow up on what traditionally would be digital, you have to be really sure on essentially what you're actually driving for customers. And it's a good example, again, as over time, what you can begin to do is turn those promotions off, because you don't want to enforce a behavior in your customer where you're always chasing a promotion with them. And I think that's one of the key lessons for us. And I know the guys at WeDoCRM, Matthew, Kirsty, Vanessa, you talk a lot about emotional loyalty. And I think emotional loyalty is key to really eradicate unnecessary margin cutting discounts.
I think you're going to answer, but we've got to get on to the next slide. It could be the next one. But this is the on-ramp now to some more practical and specific stuff around CRM. So I just wanted to put this in here because it covers, it's Paper Planes campaign is that third wheel. But brands now, you should be looking to capture touch points at all stages of not only the funnel, but what people do on site, how they interact with their subscription. So you can get as clear a picture of why they're interested and what they're interested in. Okay, then you can use these interconnectors that we spoke about. As Matthew said, there's a lot of diversification now in software as a service. You get a lot of different things from different places. So bringing that all together in one place to trigger omni-channel approach, in this instance specifically through to direct mail, but making sure that covers all of your different ways to communicate with those customers is going to bring you the most success. But I'm going to skip on again so we can get back on target. So yeah, and there you go. So this is why I thought that would be a good one next.
Yeah, definitely. I will make this quick. Can normally talk for Scotland, but I will make this quick. So talking about driven customer journeys, there's a couple of steps there on how you can kind of integrate customer journeys into your CRM. I'll touch on a couple of them that I think are the most kind of relevant, and they're all relevant, but the ones I think we should pull out anyway. Step one, define your business objectives. Definitely look at your objectives for the year and divvy them down into quarters. What's doable throughout the year? What are you trying to achieve? And then, do it each quarter and see what is doable every 3 months. Understand that customer journey from start to finish and what it looks like from acquisition all the way to coming into the base. And then, define your objectives. Segment your audience. We've spoke about it a lot in this webinar, but an approach not for everyone. One shoe doesn't fit everyone. So tailor it and segment as much as you possibly can with the data you have. And then identify different phases of that customer journey and see where those different segmentations can play their part, and identify different touch points as well. And then the biggest thing for me, obviously execute and deploy, but optimize and analyze constantly with your customer journeys. You are analyzing what you have set live, what you've done, the work you've done, but constantly looking to optimize. I preach it to my clients all the time. CRM is evolving. Our customers are changing behaviors all the time. We need to evolve. We need to change with them. So your foot is never off the gas in terms of analyzing and optimizing. So that last step being the biggest and the most important for me anyway, personally.
Yeah, and it's so easy to not segment though, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest, like the from a marketing perspective, the easiest thing in the world when you've got the pressures of the world on your shoulders and everyone breathing down your neck and that campaign you've just got to get out there, it's so easy just to not segment and to not tailor the message.
And the bigger the brand, the worse they are.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, but it's just such I think you then have to ask yourself, why are you sending out so much? What is the cadence of what you're sending and why is it going out so much? Like it's so easy to fall into the mind trap of, oh, it has to go. We need 5 campaigns a week. But if you're not segmenting and personalizing any of it, don't send it. Like, take a step back and look at what it is that's actually going out to that customer in the first place. Matthew, you made a great point around not reading email. We could probably be liable and get sued quite heavily. But if I actually screen shared my email inbox and we went through one by one the type of communications that I'm getting from some of the largest brands in the world, and I look at them and I go, why did you send that? It's like, what was the point of this email coming through, and why am I getting them every other day? It didn't work the first time.
Yeah, it's just a maturity approach that people don't realize, especially when they're in a big brand where the pressures are immense. And I've experienced this personally. The simplest thing is to batch and blast your database. But what people don't realize is what's happening in the background. Every time you do that, you're reducing the value of that database because you're disengaging portions. And some brands suddenly turn around and go, hang on a minute, why is only 30% of our database active? Because you've spent the last 5 years deactivating the other 70%, and they don't see it happening because it's this like thing that's going on in the background. So batch and blast is just something I tell people, do not do it. And you're right, Dan, it's basically, if you don't know exactly who you send it to, don't send it. Like, you're going to lose more value than you'll make.
Yeah. We have a brand, 2 million prospect mailings that used to go out the door every year. And we have reduced that number to 60,000 mailers a year. And the return on investment and conversion of that far outstrips anything that was going to those 2 million customers. And for me, if you're going to take a case study to a CFO or a CEO, that's the case study you want to be taking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because it's that when and why, isn't it? It's that key part to getting ROI. Direct mail brings with it a cost of the mailer. So defining this is vital for someone to continue to use direct mail effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so important to get that right, and utilize that data the best way you possibly can. Some kind of top tips, I guess, and I'm not going to talk off the screen, but map out that customer journey. I've mentioned it before. What does that look like from start to finish? And kind of set up some automated triggers based on some behavior, whatever that looks like for your company, for your business, your industry. Whether that's the demographics, the intent to buy, the behavior, certain behaviors on website, or whatever that looks like. And create more of that kind of automated flow with them. And then, Matt made the point, use data to deliver the message at the right time. What does that look like? And give it time to sit with the customer, not straight away. Give them time, and test that time as well with testing and analysis. And then, set automated nurture flows that build trust. That's such a big thing as well. When you, especially when you acquire someone into the business, tell them a little bit about you as soon as that customer engages. And then what is their interest signals after? Abandoned cart is a great example there too. So it's understanding those touch points and why would we send something and when is the best time. Like I said before, we never get it right straight away because there's always testing and there's always analysis to do. And I always say to clients, let's try it and test it. But then we take the learnings and we constantly evolve, as I said before.
It's important. You can see here with these three is that moving people through that loyalty journey from awareness to interest, consideration to conversion, retention, growth. Yeah.
And you have to look at different things. They're not all the same. You can't, and I think this goes back to the Meta and the Google point that you made, Dan. Like it needs to be different from acquisition to retention. Those touch points, that journey, it needs to feel different as that customer moves through the journey with their journey with the business, right? That the journey with the brand. So there's different touch points to look at, but there's different strategies behind those touch points, which is the biggest thing. And those strategies need to change. Your acquisition team and your retention team need to be working in parallel together, but they have to have different approaches to what they're doing. Customer to feel the difference when they're acquired to when they're actually in the base.
One of my favorite learning
things. Dan, I think this is an interesting one here on that is that ROI piece is with direct mail. Says Dan, I wouldn't say it's your metric, but you're the person that introduced me to this metric. So that incremental and measuring it.
Well, test and control and incrementality, and it will build on to the point I was going to make there. So one of my favorite stats for Paper Planes since we've started this crazy world of programmatic direct mail, but one of the favorite stats is that typically we will only see 40% of we will typically only see 60% of a database engaging with a promo code for direct mail. So because we're able to track everything that happens on the website, typically 40% of our audience who are going through to convert are not engaging with a discount code. Now, you could say, well, they were going to return anyway. They were going to return anyway. It's an organic return. They were going to come through a different channel. But remember, they haven't engaged with a promo in any other channel. So we know that they've come through. They haven't entered the discount code. And the real magic is when you compare it to the holdout control, because you still have a real healthy incrementality, double conversions, 33% increases in basket spends, 20% more likely to come back and make a repeat purchase, compared to the most random, the most relevant lookalike person who is randomly being stripped out at the end of that selection criteria. So there's no bias there in that selection. So all of a sudden, you have this real head scratcher for brands, because they're looking at these customers and they're going, we know that they're incremental, but why did they not all engage with the code? And again, it comes back to the key loyalty lesson, I think, rolling into 2026, which you guys know better than we do, which is it is about building loyalty on emotion and loyalty on personalization, and not necessarily on discounting.
Absolutely. I think it touches on the halo point I made before. Like, everything works in unison together, though. Like, they might not come back on that direct mail or that email, but it's left something in them to come back at a later date. So it's just having that halo approach and direct mail is such a big piece of that, because it is a physical touch point, and it does mean that there is a part where we can't always contribute direct mail to actually driving sometimes revenue, return of investment, but we know that it's all working in unison together, and it's having a halo effect, and it is bringing the customer back possibly at a later date. And I think the holdout testing is a good point to try and prove that too. And yeah,
and then there's other loyalty triggers there as well, right? You can carry those. We've spoke about one there where we measure the trigger, which is what happens at the address, but there's a wider range.
Yeah, absolutely. Frequency, recency, monetary. Monetary for retailers can look like AOV as well. So we spoke obviously about segmentation, but understand who your high spenders are and your low value customers are. You know, the point I made about the beauty retailer and knowing that 10% of that base was high spenders. We put them on a specific program just for them. And then trigger campaigns based off life cycle events. That's a really nice piece to understand, like show them that we understand them a little bit more. Oh, you made your first purchase, or even do like I don't know if there would be a product or a service that this would work for, but an anniversary of their first product or their first time that they use.
Yeah, brilliant. Occasions, like occasions coming up, birthday dates, anniversaries. These are all data points that aren't leveraged enough, and they're just so. If you're gonna, again, coming back to our original point, don't send that weekly broadcast email. Just send someone something a month before their birthday, just to say happy birthday, thank you. You know, that is so much more powerful as a data point, or the anniversary of their purchase, because as a customer, that is surprise and delight, because you are not expecting the brand to remember the period that you last purchased and to send you just a thank you to say thanks for that. Exactly. Patrick, we always like to finish these on time, these webinars. We have gone grossly over our slide plan in terms of timing, primarily because I've been talking too much. And I want to make sure that we give the guys at WeDoCRM chance to finish up on anything that they want to talk about. I think, from our side, we've covered a lot of the ground that we want to cover.
Absolutely.
So in this time that we have left, is there anything else, Kirsty, Vanessa, Matthew, from your side, which you think is really key, like some of the top tips, the things that you'd be really gearing people towards thinking about as they think about loyalty rolling into that Friday and then ultimately 2026?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to slide 18, that sums it up quite nicely. Some of the points I want to discuss. So how you measure and optimize loyalty. So creating lifetime relationships. It looks different per industry. So have a think about, as a business, as a brand, what that looks like to you. Like, what does a lifetime relationship look to you? Because it's going to look different between a supermarket and someone in the supermarket industry versus a business in the luxury handbag industry. I don't know, just an example, but have a think about that. And then brand advocacy and referrals, like nurture lifetime value, not just transactional. So big. So think about that. And then I just want to touch on a really nice example from Humantra about rewarding behaviors. And, looking at true ambassadors for your brand. Humantra did a really nice thing where the CEO actually called up some of his like top customers in the base and said thank you, and actually asked them like, why are you using the product so much? He knows because he loves it and he's a big fan of his own product, right? But like, that's a really nice touch point. And I think if you can understand a little bit more about your customers and why they're ambassadors, and then keep testing, refining, personalizing your work, your program. Look at dynamic content and see what you can pull through based on your data, and just make sure that you are keeping up with staying connected with your customers.
Trust, advocacy, ratings and reviews, authenticity, like all of that is effectively so important. Leveraging all of that content. You know, you want to build trust and loyalty. It's not about what you've got to say as a brand. It's about the people who buy you, what they've got to say.
100%. Actually, go to your customers and ask them those questions. 100%.
Matthew, on measurement, if you were going to take one measurement point away, that's an absolute rabbit hole. I know I've given you a bit of a hospital ball there, but from a measurement perspective over Black Friday, what would you be looking for, and where would you be trusting? What would be your voice of truth through this period?
I don't know. You put me on the spot then.
He does that to you. He does do that. Honestly, the amount of times he's put me on the spot like that.
I don't know the best way to answer that. I tell you for why, because Black Friday was always, especially when I worked in travel, Black Friday was one of the toughest periods because nothing quite made sense. It wasn't the daily norm. Yeah. So Black Friday is a great testing ground, is the best way I will say that. It's about go through the chaos of Black Friday, bearing in mind that no one shops normally in any way. We all buy ridiculous stuff we shouldn't do. And then look at the data after. But what I would say is don't be afraid to, don't let it overwhelm. You know, you're not going to know everything. Just don't be afraid to deep dive. And also don't be afraid to embrace the modern world. Don't be afraid to use AI. AI can scrub data and pull out patterns quicker than any human being alive. And it's about harnessing the old world with the new world and finding a common ground. And I think Black Friday is a great way to test your base and to just see what comes back, and then spend the next couple of months analyzing it and figure out how you adapt it to the rest of the calendar year. Because it's such a hotbed of just weird decisions that customers will make and weird things that they will do. But yeah, apart from that, I feel like I can't give you a...
I thought it was an excellent answer. It's exactly right, isn't it?
I think apart from that, what we would say is, for the audience, that's all you're getting free. So if you want to find out any more hints and tips from Matthew's experiences or Vanessa Kirsty's, you need to be getting in touch with the guys at WeDoCRM to find out more. WeDoCRM.co. Go to the website, speak to them, find out more. They can help you with everything that we've discussed today. And I guess from our side, we will leave you with, if you are a Shopify hosted brand and you want to give direct mail a try for the first time, you do get 500 free sends through referencing, for utilizing Paper Planes. Get in contact with us at paperplanes.co.uk. Speak to myself, speak to Patrick, we'll take you through a strategy where you can try it, and there's absolutely no risk, no obligation, no lock-in. So effectively, it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work, but it always works because we know what we're talking about when it comes to loyalty and direct mail, or at least my co-founder does. So thank you so much to the guys for being on here with us today. Thank you so much,
guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you do have anything you want to follow up on with us at all, we'd be more than happy to do so. But thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Speak to you soon.